Welcome back to Tech Talks from Commercial Baking. I'm your host, Maddie Lambert. In this episode, sponsored by Equinom, I'm speaking with Lilach Aviad, VP of Product and Marketing, and we are discussing how data-driven insights into wheat and flour variability can optimize bakery production and reduce costs. Lilach, thank you so much for being here with me today.
Thank you, Maddie. Nice being here.
This technology is really fascinating to me because I personally haven't heard of anything like it. So I want to start by talking about the fact that variability in wheat and then consequently in flour is seen and treated as an unavoidable challenge in baking. So how does Equinom's technology help bakers shift that mindset from reactive to proactive in problem-solving production management? And what impact does this have on overall operational efficiency?
Variability has always been built into the system. Wheat is an agricultural product, it's a biological material. So every harvest, every region, every season brings something slightly different. For decades, bakers and millers have accepted that as a given and built the entire workflows around compensating for it in real time. Millers blend to achieve the flour that they want, and bakers adjust their processes to make sure they get the exact product they desire. What Mana does is fundamentally challenge that assumption. Our platform uses NIR, in near infrared spectroscopy, combined with AI. And what we do is we use the entire spectral fingerprint of a wheat grain or a flour. By doing that, we can analyze the entire biological composition of that material and provide the baker or the miller a lot of information about the ingredient they're going to use, be grain or flour. What it means, they can know in advance what's going to be the behavior of the flour in the production floor. And the platform also provides them with actionable recommendations, for example, water adjustments or mixing times required before the flour actually entered into the production floor. That shifts the entire process from being reactive to being predictive, and it changes the entire posture of the operation. And yes, of course, this applies equally to millers, because if a miller can read the spectral fingerprint of the wheat they're processing when the wheat enters the mill, they can store maybe better in a smarter way. And of course, they can also blend smarter and make better decisions upstream before they actually mill the flour and reach better consistency for their flour. That means fewer surprises downstream and better product leaving the mill.
Wow. So just knowing how a specific batch of flour will perform in the mixer before it ever even hits production is new wave technology. This is never before seen. Is that correct?
Exactly. That's the entire idea.
Can you walk me through how the Mana technology evaluates multiple flour parameters simultaneously? So like protein and moisture?
So protein percentage has been the industry shorthand for flour quality for a very long time, and it's not useless, but it's a single data point trying to tell a very complex story. Everybody knows that two flours with identical protein content can behave completely differently in a dough. That's a gap the industry has lived with for many, many years. This is exactly where Mana platform changes the game. When you scan flour with NIR, you're not extracting one number. You're capturing a complete spectral fingerprint across hundreds of data points. And critically, you're getting all of this instantly. Compare that to traditional testing, which have been used. Of course, you can perform lab testing in order to get information about additional parameters and get them very accurately, but this is very time consuming and labor intensive. By the time the wet lab results come back, the production decision was already made, and the production is it's at least in the middle of the process, if not toward the end. Our machine learning models, they are trained to interpret that fingerprint and predict real world functional behavior. How much water this flour will absorb, how long it needs to be in the mixer, how it will perform under the specific process condition of the specific baker that learns your operation over time and deliver results instantly every single time.
That perfectly segues into my next question because I also wanted to talk about labor shortages and experience gaps because both of those continue to challenge commercial bakeries. So, how does Equinom and this amazing technology help standardize decision making on the production floor, particularly when it comes to operators?
So, the baking industry has a lot of institutional knowledge, experienced operators who could look at the dough and know something was off or adjust instinctively based on years of feel. That expertise is genuinely hard to replace. What Mana does is encode that expertise into an AI platform that continuously learns and improves. And when you scan incoming flour and capture its full spectral fingerprint, our machine learning models translate that into clear, specific guidance before the batch starts. The recommendation is already there. An operator doesn't need 20 years of experience to make the right call. The platform is effectively the institutional knowledge of your best operators made available to everyone on the floor on every shift. More flour lots, more production runs, more outcomes. Its recommendations become increasingly precise and tailored to your environment. Your product quality becomes less dependent on who happens to be on shift that day and more anchored in a continuously improving data-driven foundation.
Wow. So let's talk about cost management. From that perspective, where do bakeries typically see the biggest financial gains when they're moving from reactive adjustments to a more predictive, data-driven model?
The most immediate is waste reduction. When you're reacting to flour variability after the fact, you're going to have batches that don't meet spec. And in commercial baking, that's not a small number. Rework is expensive, and outright waste is worse. A big part of what drives that waste is imprecision in the two most fundamental processes variables, water and mixing time. Overhydrating because you weren't sure how thirsty the flour was, or overmixing to compensate for uncertainty. These are common, costly habits. When Mana gives you specific water absorption and mixing time recommendations based on the flour's actual spectral fingerprint, the moment the flour is scanned, you can be precise from the start. There's also a direct cost saving in the testing process itself. Wet lab analysis requires skilled labor, dedicated time, and in many cases it's expensive. So by using an NIR device and getting those recommendations immediately into Mana, you could save quite a lot of time and money.
So having that knowledge beforehand of knowing how it's going to react and how it would perform in the oven, and even knowing metrics like the loaf volume, like this is incredible technology. This is just seriously such a game changer. Can you tell me a little bit more about how it could change the relationship between a baker and their supplier, especially when it comes to sourcing consistency and the overall collaboration?
So I think that the first and most immediate impact is accountability. For the first time, bakers have an objective AI-powered way to verify that the flour they receive actually meets the specifications they agreed upon with their miller. Not just the numbers on the COA they receive, but the real functional fingerprints on that specific flour. And that's a fundamental shift in the power dynamic of that relationship, and it creates a much stronger foundation of trust. Right now, a lot of the interaction between bakers and millers or suppliers happens after something goes wrong. A complaint, a claim, a dispute over a non-conforming delivery. That's a difficult conversation, and it tends to be adversarial. When you have the spectral fingerprint of every flour lot, an objective, AI analyzed, reproducible data, the conversation changes completely. The baker can say, here is how this flour fingerprint compared to what our models expect for our process. Here is the water adjustment, and here is how it affected the mixing time. That's a very different conversation than this flour didn't perform well. So over time, that enables real supplier alignment, more meaningful quality agreements, and the kind of ongoing collaboration that actually moves the needle on consistency.
So this next question might be the most important one because I have a feeling bakers and millers are going to be rushing to Equinom to learn more about this. So what is the best way for them to get in touch with you guys and learn more?
So the best way to connect with us is through our website. It's www.equi-nom.com, or directly on LinkedIn and look for myself or look for the Equinom LinkedIn account. Whether you're a baker or a miller, we will be more than happy to talk to you and see how we can assist you.
Lilach, thank you so much for your time talking about this today. I had no idea this technology was even out there.
Thank you so much.